Hey everybody, welcome back to Blathering Conversations on the Napzok Network, or maybe you're watching on the YouTube channel. I'm Ken Napzok. Happy you're here. I'm very, I'm excited to have this conversation, though it's not going to be all fun and bouncy, but it doesn't mean we can't find fun in the serious topics. We'll see where it goes. But as always, before we get to the interview, I want to say on this little sub-series, which I haven't developed a little funny name for it. My instincts as a broadcaster, I want to come up with some catchy branding, but really we don't. God, ? Just might be it. But this is an interview. We second in the sub-series. We did the one with Jerry, the Canon Junkie. I want you all to check that out. We have our regular Blathering Conversation series. Had a great conversation with Dan Larson from Secret Galaxy last time out. This week, as always, it is a different kind of journey through religion, organized religion, religious trauma, growing past things, changing the politics of Jesus, the politics of the church, all of it there. It's my journey through a lot of things, but more importantly, it is my guest's journey through all of it. As I always say, I am not here to disprove God. I'm not here to say you can't believe. I'm not here to say any of that. I'm here to talk with some, truth and honesty and a lot of pain about things in all of our lives related to these big issues. All right. So as I always say, it's not my normal programming. And if you're like, hey, not for me, not this time, I always say, hey, no harm, no foul. You can check out now, but I really hope you don't, because this is going to be a very important conversation. So with that said, we are welcoming to the show, as you can see here, the host of Genders, Queers, and Buccaneers. Well, a co-host. We want to give Ronnie their due here, but
Absolutely.
they're also a contributor to Casterly Talk and appear regularly in the Anytime with Ken and Olden chat room, which means we need to get you on anytime more regularly too. Andy's here. Andy, I'll ask how you doing. That's sometimes a heavy question.
Today was a rough day executive orders, but other than that, I had a great time LARPing this weekend in the cold, and I got a glass of whiskey, and I'm excited to have a conversation with Ken. So I'm doing okay, all things considered.
It's very tough to find those pinpricks of light, which has been one of the themes that a lot of us Star Wars fans have been kind of talking about in the last couple of weeks, something that was brought up in the show Skeleton Crew. But if LARPing in the wilderness is your pinprick of light right now, Andy, I am thankful you got to do it.
5-degree temperatures in the snow. It was wild.
Ooh, okay. I've always wanted, I secretly have always wanted to try to LARP. I've never been someone that has really made fun of it, but I think there's been some jokes sometimes I've made because I'm jealous that other people have just been able to do it. So maybe one time you and I'll join the team.
I'll say this: you got to be able to laugh at yourself. It is like an inherently silly hobby, but I do think the production value of games I've been to tends to be a lot higher than what I've seen in shows and movies kind of poking fun at it. So It is cooler than typically how it's portrayed, but also you gotta be able to be like, I'm dressed like a goblin right now and talking in a squeaky voice and getting murdered by adventurers. How did we get here?
This conversation today is about other things, but I could probably do an hour with you on my desire to LARP, even though I never have, because that famous clip that years ago went viral, the lightning bolt.
Yes.
Sure. Hey, made some jokes at it, but in my heart, I was like, he's throwing some good lightning bolts. I think I'd like to do that.
His spells were clear. You knew what he was casting. He was nailing with the spackets.
Yeah.
That kid's a pro.
Yeah. But one of the things I think, Andy, that I'll take from you, being a LARPer, is you know who you are, you know where your joys are, and you know how to do it. And I want to start there with you. You were joking in messages before we launched of having your testimony ready. And I'm just going to hand the mic to you as we dive into where we're going. What's your testimony?
I feel like when I talk about religion on different podcasts, and I've been on a few to talk about it. I was on the Let's Hang Out podcast a few years ago, and My Gay Agenda back in 2020, and talked about stuff. Is I need to state my credentials.
Yes.
Because a lot of evangelicals are used to people lying about their testimonies. They'll say I was a Satanist, and I was addicted to drugs, and they brag, they sin brag to have a cooler testimony. So none of this is cool, but I'm gonna say it so that people know my credentials are legit. My first concert as a teenager was Reliant K. with Hawk Nelson opening. I went to Liberty University, 2010 to 2014. I saw Trump speak there before he was a candidate, actually. There's a published photo of Trump on Liberty stage, and you can see me in the picture, which is bonkers. I was mad then. I'm more mad now. What else? The Donut Man. I saw the Donut Man live. He came to my church. I saw Carman beat the shit out of the devil in like the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia on stage. Yeah. So like I've been around the block. Yeah. If you know any of what I just said, we grew up similarly. Yeah. Goodness. So I was born and raised as PK. Okay. And my dad was a PK. So I was raised by a second generation pastor, and then knew from an early age that I wanted to be a pastor. Also knew from an early age that I was not quite like other people. Like I had some gender feelings pretty young, didn't really have words for it. I just knew it wasn't acceptable. And then as I got older, I realized like I am not attracted to girls. And I didn't quite get why I was like feeling jealous about my guy friends, like getting girlfriends. I was like, but we were going to watch Star Wars. Like we were going to play Dungeons and Dragons. Why are you hanging out with like your girlfriend? Like what the heck? And then probably around junior year, senior year, like I kind of started figuring it out. Like I got a girlfriend and I was just like, I don't feel anything. This is weird. And like hanging out at like theater kid parties and seeing boys kiss was just like, oh,
there's something kids. There. Those sinful theater kids.
The sinful theater kids. I did go to a public high school, which I largely credit for helping me be somewhat normal, because I went to Christian elementary school, but public middle school and high school before getting shipped off to Liberty. Liberty was weird. Can't watch R-rated movies, strict dress code, no girls on your dorms. Can't be in the presence of alcohol, can't swear, can't play certain video games, can't listen to certain music. Very, very, very strict code of conduct called the Liberty Way. It is my understanding that it has gotten a lot looser since Jerry Falwell got cucked by his pool boy. Which, like, no shame if that's what you're into, Jerry. But maybe don't be a dick about me kissing boys.
That's always my big issue with that. Like, it's like, just what if the world would be such a better place if you would just accept that about yourself, Jerry? Yeah, world would be a better place.
Yeah, just be chill about it, man. Whatever you and Becky want to do, I'm fine with. Just don't be a creep about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And all this, what you're describing is, I've always, I don't know if it's the correct description of it, but I grew up what I would call a legalistic church, where this was, and it's not like some of this stuff isn't the norms in other churches, but it's like this was really, really, really strict in our church. I remember an elder got caught buying a ticket for an R-rated movie, and like it got back to the church, and we all like, oh, so-and-so's, did you hear it? He went and saw an R-rated movie.
RAs would hang out at the movie theater, outside the theaters for R-rated movies, to demerit Liberty students as they came out. Like, it was bonkers. Wow. I did have great friends at Liberty, though. I had a really cool dorm. I had a couple great roommates. I was dorm leadership, and I had a blast at doing that. I have certain friends that I made at Liberty who have since also come out, and we have a group chat, and like they're some of my closest friends. I love those people. So like not everything was bad, but like the first 3 years was very much me trying to like be like, I'm not gay, I'm not queer. I'm totally normal, and I'm going to have normal relationships with girls. And by senior year, I was like, this isn't going away, and I'm about to leave Liberty and try to become a pastor. So I need to figure out like what I believe. Like, what
Mm.
is going on? Like, did God make me this way? Is this just a sin I have to overcome?
Right.
What is going on here? So
Mm-hmm.
I hardcore studied the like Greek and Hebrew of the scripture. I read every conservative book I could get my hands on because I didn't want to be swayed by those liberal theologians.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading John Piper, Francis Chan, Mark Driscoll. Some of these people have had scandals since then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stephen Furtick, although he was a little liberal at the time. But
I mean, Amy Grant was liberal at the time in the 90s because she was on the radio. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
a little earlier, but yeah.
So I did a lot of study, and basically what I came away with was like, I think this is all horseshit.
Mm.
And like, don't get me wrong, my worldview was getting rocked by being at Liberty because I was seeing stuff at Liberty that I was like, this is absurd. Like, I was not.
Right.
I enjoyed Liberty, like, because I had friends there, but I was not bought into the Liberty Way. I was not bought into having speakers like Donald Trump at Convocation. I was not bought into inviting Republicans to speak. Now, don't get me wrong. We also had Bernie, which was cool.
Right.
But I did not like that Jerry Jr. was starting to get into politics around that time. And I thought that was like very inappropriate. So I was starting to get frustrated with the structure, but I was like, that's just Liberty. Like, Liberty is huge. It's this big institution. The church would be different than that. So graduated in 2014, kind of was coming to terms with the fact that I was queer, made some queer friends after graduating at a Comic-Con, which was great. And kind of came out to a very small circle of people and started seminary. And very soon after starting seminary, I got a job as a pastor. So I was then serving as the assistant pastor at a local church in the Philly area. I'm not going to say the church. I don't want to put anyone on blast. Yeah. I don't think that would be cool. But
fair, absolutely.
Then things got more complicated because through my queer friends that I had made, I was at New York Comic-Con. I met a really cute guy who I really liked. He is now my husband. So it worked out. But at the time, I was like, I do not think I can pull this off. Like, I don't know if I can be in seminary, be a full-time working pastor in seminary full-time, and also have a secret gay boyfriend.
Right.
It was complicated,
to say the least. Is your mindset around this time? Is it as you say you're studying these books? You talked about, is this who I am, or can I overcome this? Were you predisposed because of teachings and upbringings to go to the direction of, I can just pray this away? This is how that's got to happen. And at what point, if that's how you started, what point did you go to, no, this is who I am?
So the big fear was like conversion therapy. Like, Liberty had a group called Band of Brothers, and the poster like had it was the like guys from HBO, which was very funny. And it was like the gay conversion therapy group, and I was terrified of having to be forced to go to that.
Yeah.
And then I,
which I'm sorry to cut you off, but does that, like, so you're at Liberty, you're at this Christian college, like, you don't really feel you could even properly discuss any of this, right? If you even come forward in any way, shape, or form, that's probably where you're heading.
Yeah, if I had come forward, I would have been forced to attend Band of Brothers. Guys on my hall would be told that there was like a homo. They would be told, like, you can't walk around shirtless, you can't walk around in your boxers because there's like a homosexual on your hall. They wouldn't be told who, but then everyone's then like Lord of the Flies pointing fingers at each other, or making more jokes about it than they already did. Yeah. And I mean, like, I kissed boys at Liberty, but immediately afterwards they were like, oh, by the way, I'm straight. And it's like,
sure,
you just had your tongue down my throat, but like, yeah, sure, me too, I guess.
Right.
We'll never talk about this. Bye. But Yeah, couldn't talk about it at liberty. I did try to talk to a family member about it, and they gave me a book that was like same-sex attraction in you and how to overcome it. And they
moved past it, just like Elton John did for a year. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have been 22 at the time, maybe. I talked to this family member about it. I was like, hey, like, I'm real confused about this, and like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm freaking out. They gave me this book. They said, read this and get back to me, and if it didn't work, we'll get you in therapy. And I knew what that meant. So I was just like, they checked in like 2 weeks later. I was like, I'm good. It worked. Like message loud and clear. We will never talk about this again.
All good here. I picked up Maxim. Do you want to read Maxim with me?
So
wow. And we're laughing. Yeah. But like, that's what I'm at. It's like, you don't have anywhere to go under the system.
No. And like, my queer friends were like so empathetic and so understanding about it, and like, they were not like cruel about me being a Christian. They like understood like who I was and what I was trying to do and what my motivations were with like trying to become a pastor. And I just felt like so much more love there and so much judgment from my home situation and the church I was at and the school I went to. That like, I mean, like, faggot was a common word I heard at home, at school, at church. And like every single time I was like, they're talking about me. Like my family would watch America's Got Talent all together. And I have this memory burned in my brain of being like 15 and a drag act came on and my entire family being like, look at this disgusting faggot. Like, what does America come to? And I'm sitting there like, that's fucking me. Like, that's holy me. Shit, that's what they think about me. So like very early on, learn like you keep that locked down. So again, fast forward to 2015, I met this cute guy. Towards the end of 2015 is when I started the pastor job. I started the pastor job before dating this guy. But then not long after that, we start long distance dating. Seminary full-time, working full-time, secret boyfriend. All the old ladies at my church wanted me to date their granddaughters and daughters. Sure. And I was like,
you're on a list.
No, I'm like Paul. I've been called to a time of singleness till I finish seminary. And then texting my boyfriend like, yo, another granny tried to set me up.
Another offer.
My brother and his girlfriend at the time, like, very kindly, like, surprised me with a double date with like this very cute librarian girl. And so like I'm texting my boyfriend like, hey babe, I think I'm on a date right now. Like
I walked into sorry. Something. This girl wants me to check out some books. Yes. And yes.
Like very, very lovely girl, very kind. She really wanted a godly husband. And I'm like, oh, honey, like, I wish you well. I don't think I'm right for you, but I wish you the best.
I wish you the best in your future endeavors. You've been released from wrestling. When you're... Sorry, and I want you to finish. This whole episode might be me interrupting your wonderful testimony here. When you got the self-described secret boyfriend, you are in seminary school. You're no longer like I'm heading there. You're in it. Can you walk me through a beat or two of what that means to you in your soul? Like, are you at this point still thinking I'm living a double life as opposed to I'm discovering who I really am and have come to terms with really who I am?
So my thought was that I would try and like finish seminary, get get my Master's of Divinity or a doctorate. I wasn't sure what I wanted. I had graduated Liberty with a Bachelor's of Science in Biblical Studies with a minor in Old Testament theology and then a separate minor in New Testament theology. So like all Bible all the time, baby.
Yeah.
So then started seminary, realized I was not cut out for an MDiv, very difficult program, was like, I'll go for a Master's of Religion, little easier path to success there. So I was working on that, and my thought was like, I would be in ministry for like 3 years. Jesus's ministry was 3 years. I was like, that's a good timeline. Yes. Shoot for 3 years of ministry like Jesus. Then like quietly leave the church I was a part of, and ideally I'd have the like experience then to kind of find a pathway forward that I was more comfortable with. I didn't know what that would necessarily look like. I didn't know if that was like teaching at a like more liberal Christian institution or finding a like more liberal home church. But my thought was like, I was still living at home. My parents very graciously said I could live at home as long as I was in school, which was hugely appreciated. So I knew that I couldn't just like come out and go to get a job at a liberal church while I was living at home with them. I knew that like wouldn't fly. So, I mean, I was 24 and kind of an idiot. So it all made sense to me at the time. Fast forward to me drinking like 12 cups of coffee a day and not sleeping and like casually abusing alcohol. It was not as easy as I thought it would be. And getting a boyfriend was not part of my game plan, but worked out. So
clearly it worked out. Where well, keep going if you want. I want to take this finish line and then jump on in and whatnot. But so you're here. You're ready to do your 3 years and kind of quietly, politely, respectfully duck out. I'm not causing any problems. I'm going to duck out and go find myself. And then where does that go?
So like I loved being a pastor. I really loved it. I worked a lot with the like teenagers at the church, completely like rebuilt their youth program and had a blast doing that. The kids in the program were all had previously, it was like a very jock dominated youth group, and the previous assistant pastor was a big jock. And when he left, all the jocks left. And so it was just these like misfit nerd kids who I was like, these are like, these are my people. That's who I was in high school. Like, this is going to be like a ton of fun. We had a great time. Rebuilt it from like 3 kids up to, I think when I left, we were getting like over 20 a week, which was pretty cool. I worked a lot with the elderly, which I got a lot out of. I did a lot of hospital visits for people who couldn't make it to church on Sundays anymore, but had been going to the church. I found that very fulfilling. They wanted me to do young couples marriage counseling. And I was like,
it ain't me, babe.
I am not the person for that. You do not want the homo giving advice to these young Christian couples on how to be good spouses. Like, this is not for me. No, thank you. But I loved my congregation a lot. I never felt like I really had to lie, which was important to me. It was really important to me to not lie, but like no one asked me if I was gay.
Did they just assume you weren't? Because that's, I grew up in that era where it's like easy to go like, there wasn't a lot of queer kids in my school. Yeah, there was. You just didn't think to look or ask or wonder.
Yeah. So like no one ever directly asked me, to my recollection. And like people would make comments with the assumption that you agreed with them. So like, someone would say like, oh, like these leftists and these liberals and these like kind of deviants. And I would say, it's important that like you show God's love to people that you find difficult to love. So like, I think you should be praying that you can like better love these people the way that Jesus would, that you find distasteful.
Yeah.
And like, I felt like that was accurate to scripture, was not a betrayal to this queer identity that I was slowly discovering in my queer friends.
Yeah.
I felt like I kind of walked that balance really well. Like I said, I was drinking like 12 cups of coffee a day, and not really sleeping, and
it was
like not taking great care of myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I loved being a pastor.
It was racking you on the inside for obvious reasons. The situation. Yeah, and what you're talking about, it sounds like, I don't know, almost like you're addressing someone by saying, you in a position of power might want to show some mercy. I'm asking politely if you could show some mercy for people who are afraid in this world. I don't know. That seems to be something in the headlines we've seen recently that seems accurate to the scripture. When you say, I loved being a pastor, and I'll get to maybe where you are now and beliefs and now, and did it all come crumbling down, or do you still hold on to some of it? I want to know those answers. But going back to that moment, I actually loved hearing you say that. That's part of the purpose of the conversations I'm having here. I'm not throwing everything out with the bathwater. I'm not saying, like you said, hey, even there were some good friends at Liberty. There's some things to build upon. But I'm fascinated to hear you say, I love that. It sounds like you're connecting with people, connecting with the congregation, you're helping, you're meeting people at where they're at. But a little bit more on that. What did that mean to you to be a pastor to those people?
I genuinely believe that is what I was put on this earth to do. I think I was raised in such a way that like that was the only job for me. I have a lot of issues with how I was raised, and I have not been shy about them with my parents since coming out. But they made me one hell of a pastor. And the professors I had and the relationships I had at Liberty, I think, really shaped me to be one hell of a good pastor. And like, I'm not a pastor anymore, but in a lot of ways I still am. In a lot of ways I still, I think, kind of function with that mindset. Like, I think that's what this conversation is. Like, I don't have a pulpit, but like, this is Sunday school. If you're watching this, welcome to Sunday school. Yeah,
I got the little felt figures from the Bible and some gold stars for memory verses. We're solid. We got it.
Like when Alden has me on, or when like Scotty and Jerry have me on, like I prepare like I'm preparing a sermon. Like I'm ready to go. Let's do it. Let's have Sunday school. Casterly talk. Like let's talk about the big themes instead of the Bible. We're using George R. R. Martin, but like, what does this mean for us? Like what lessons can we take away from this? How does the story affect us in here? How does it affect us what we do out there? Like, let's talk about these stories.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about more of your story. Where are you now? Let's find out what happened to where you go.
It starts falling apart. Ken, it falls apart.
Falls apart?
It falls apart.
You didn't join the Band of Brothers. You did not join the Band of Brothers.
No, I did not join the Band of Brothers. So I'm a pastor. It's 2015, 2016. And like...
Interesting time in our country.
Interesting time in our country. A few big things happen. Thing one was like marriage equality, 2015.
Right.
Not that long ago.
Nope.
That was a big thing that happened where like conversations were being had, and I was singing My Friends Get to Celebrate, and I couldn't. And so that was very isolating. I was in Florida very shortly before the Pulse nightclub shooting in 2016. And I went down there to officiate a wedding, and then the wedding people left, and I stayed, and my boyfriend met me there. And I remember asking the doorman of our hotel, like, any good like gay spots, and he named like 3 clubs, and one of them was Pulse. And we had considered like going out, and we were tired, so we decided to stay in, and we didn't go out. But I just had this thought like 2 weeks later when the shooting happened, like, what would my family think if my body was there? Like, what would my church think if my body was there? the people around me are kind of like self-righteously like, well, what do you expect? And my friends are mourning, I'm mourning in secret, and it felt like shit, Ken. It felt really, really bad.
So it's almost as if, like, up until now, maybe hey, you're never lying about what you believe or teaching or your pastoring, but now it's more than a lie. It's this prison around what you want to feel and do and say and be.
Yeah, and like I couldn't show any cracks in the armor. Then the Donald Trump stuff, like I was pretty vocal from early on at Liberty that like it is inappropriate how this Christian institution is like sucking off the Republican Party. I was not cool with that. I do not think that that is biblical. I do not think that is Christian. Do not think that is spiritual. And seeing the evangelical church like throw their weight behind Donald Trump of all candidates, absolutely disgusted me.
Yeah,
you know, Mr. 2 Corinthians Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So I was just like really disgusted about that. Then like again through my own readings, I had been coming to grips with like a lot of this stuff is inconsistent. A lot of this stuff doesn't line up and connect. And I'm kind of wrestling with that and trying to figure out like what I believe and what I hold to be true. And then the last straw for me was the bathroom bans, which were being tossed around in North Carolina in like 2016. The first time the Republican Party went after trans people was 2016.
Yeah.
They're going hard for it now, but we did this song and dance about 8 or 9 years ago now. And my boss, my pastor, he would do these kind of thought exercises at elders meetings where he would, throw a scenario out and we'd go around the table and talk about how we'd resolve it. And it was usually something in the news. So, what if a family comes to our church and they're undocumented? What would we do? And we'd spitball solutions and try and find something that we felt was biblical. And so the pastor throws out there, what would you do if a noticeable trans woman comes to our church and she tries to use the women's bathroom? And the vast majority of answers horrified me to a degree that I thought I wasn't safe.
Can I ask why do you like, because what you're, I'm sure I know the answers on an undocumented family coming. I'm sure they were all more I'm sure maybe there's some bad answers, but they were all maybe easier to take. What is it about the issues around the queer community, the trans communities we're seeing that just sets them off to this way, that they just feel it's okay to be this outrightly evil? I don't have that answer. I know you, but it's just like that. I hear you say that. I'm like, it goes from like, here to just on that issue.
So I think a core tenet of evangelical Christianity is misogyny.
Yes.
And I think gay people ick them out because for a couple of reasons. But one reason is I think a lot of evangelicals are worried that like gay men would treat them the way they treat women. I think that's why conservatives in general are icked out by gay people. I think in general, if like lesbians and bisexuals or pansexuals and gay people exist, that it shows that like the house of cards is built on misogyny and like is built on this family dynamic of like man right and correct, woman subservient. And if like two women can be together, or if two guys can be together, or if you can get like a messy little polycule and all the bisexuals are happy, then it kind of shows the flaws inherent in that system. And like evangelical Christianity really does rely on this idea that like men and women are fundamentally different. And and that men are
sense.
better. And I think that like queer people kind of fuck that whole thing up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great answer.
Yeah.
Again, it's obviously way more complicated than we'll even solve on a podcast, but that just it makes a lot of sense. It's been because you could make your little even stickering. Meaning I could make a joke of like, I bet maybe because you got questions yourself, and there's all that, but there's a violence to the ideas towards these people.
I mean, I've had people tell me like, this family member or that family member is extra cool to you because they're probably in the closet. And I'm like,
right.
No, like
maybe they're
not
decent.
all homophobia is internalized hatred. Like, does that happen occasionally? Sure. And
Gotcha.
it's tragic when it does. I don't find it funny when it happens. I think it's really sad.
Yes.
But I think we all love a hypocrite. We all love to be able to point to a hypocrite. And I think that sort of joke absolves allies from having to do any work, because if all homophobia is internalized hatred, then like there's nothing for an ally to do. The gays just got to figure that out. But like, no, this is a systemic problem. This is a much bigger problem than just people in the closet hating themselves. This is a lot bigger and nastier and crueler than that. So I'm in this elders meeting. A lot of the answers are very crass, very violent jokes, and I'm sitting there horrified. I speak up and say, like this feels cruel. Like I would let her use the bathroom. One other elder speaks up and agrees with me. And the pastor kind of ends the conversation and moves on. And I left that elders meeting, drove a block away and cried in my car, and called Starbucks the next day to get a job. And within a week, I had a job lined up at Starbucks, and I put in my 2 weeks at the church. Just like that amount of gleeful hatred was not something I had seen up to that point. I knew my church was conservative. I knew my church was like not cool with gay people. I knew my church was not cool with trans people, but I was genuinely worried, like, if I slip up, I might be in danger. I need to like get out of here. And it was very, very scary. So I did lie. This was like my big lie. I told them that I was going to be getting involved with a church plant when I quit. But like, I wanted to not cause waves. I was not trying to cause a stir. I was not trying to get on a soapbox. I was like, I'm just leaving. Good luck to you. Thank you very much. I loved serving here. Goodbye. And then I came out to my family, which did not go well. So family did not take it particularly well. I crashed with friends for a couple months. And then Evan and I moved in together. I moved to Maryland. And things got a lot better for me. That's not true. I did go to a church and they tried to cast a demon out of me. That was the last church I went to, though.
I laugh only because I've seen that in a church. What went down? You walked in, said I'd like to attend, and they grabbed the demon team?
So there was this cute guy that came into my Starbucks in Maryland. And like he was so cute. He was real handsome. And like we would chat a bunch, and it turns out he was a pastor. And we would chat, and I was like, I used to be a pastor, and he was like, what happened? And I was like, I'm a big homo. And he was real chill though. Like I'm pretty good at like catching the red and yellow flags, and there really weren't any. And he was like, hey, I'm preaching this Sunday. Like, I'd love if you came. Like, I understand if you don't, but like, I haven't like preached in a while. I'm real excited. It'd be cool if you came. And like, I knew he was spitting like church game at me. Like, I've pulled that card. I've done that play, but I was like, fuck it. Like, I miss church. Like, I'm still a believer. Like, I'll go check it out. And, at that point, I was kind of not noticing the flags because he was just that charming, but like all the women were wearing jean skirts, and that should have been a big red flag.
Do they have pockets or just pleats?
But he preached. It was fine. It wasn't anything offensive. People were very nice. I got to sit in his little section. You know, I felt like a little celebrity because I was his guest. So I went back a few more times and was enjoying it again. Like I loved church. It felt really nice to go again and like sing some Hillsong. And maybe my fourth time there, I showed up and knew everything was off. Like people were being weird, and I was like, "Fuck, they know." Like, and at the end of the sermon, he was like, "Hey, like before we leave, I gotta like come grab something out here. Can you give me a hand with it?" And I was like, "Sure, I got you." And I went into a room, and it was a bunch of the elders there, and they closed and locked the door, and they said, "You've got a demon in you, and we're going to cast it out." And this was probably 2017.
So in other words, not 1820 or 1631.
No, they were like, "You got a gay demon in you. That's why you're a homo, and we got to save you from it." And they locked the door. And I'm a big person, you know. I'm not like buff, but I'm 6'2". I did theater. I know how to fucking project my voice. So I got real fucking loud, and I was like, "I am calling the police. You're going to unlock that fucking door. I am walking out of here right now, or I'm going to start hurting people." And they were like, "That's the demon talking." And I said, "No, motherfucker. Like, that's me. This is not happening. I am leaving." And they backed down, and I walked out of there. And I have not been back to church since.
And you said it in this point in your life, you said the words, you know, you're still a believer, you enjoyed church. So where are you right now with that?
So yeah, that was about, like I said, like 2017. And I tried pretty hard to hang on to some semblance of faith even after that. I would say that like when I came out, my faith was never stronger. Like I felt so connected to God. I really felt like I had made the right choice. I felt really liberated. But like around the few months after I had come out, around the time I moved in with Evan is when my family started outing me to people, which was not great. So that also would have been around the time this happened. So this would have been like the demon thing was like probably late 2016. My family outing me to people late 2016. So like that is when like the harassment started in big.
Were they outing you in any kind of ill-fated good attempt, or just was it all bad?
I mean, I would say no.
Yeah, I mean the results are like, no, but yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to excuse anything. I'm just wondering how suddenly that next thing you know,
my a certain family member gave me an ultimatum that like you tell your church or I do. And I was like, well, that's not my church anymore. Like I left. Like I don't see any reason to tell them. And this family member was like, I don't care. You tell them or I do. So I emailed the pastor and was like, hey, like I'm not in a church plant. I'm really sorry I lied to you. I didn't want to have to do that. I thought it was the best way to leave quietly and to not cause a stir. The guy who had been the assistant pastor before me left very dramatically. Also, I should mention. So, like, I knew that I did not want to cause a stir. I didn't want to cause any more pain.
I've been around the dramatic pastor leavings and filings.
That's it. Yeah,
it's a thing.
So,
yeah,
you know, I kind of explained my reasoning for lying, and said like, I'm gay. Like, I'm really sorry. I know that this is probably going to hurt you, but like, that's what's up. And like from there, like shit just hit the fan. I mean, like angry letters, angry voicemails, angry it was very, very rough to deal with the fallout. And then like telling my family members, I guess they started outing me to family before I moved because some of them had very awkward conversations. But like I would still occasionally like visit home at this time. Like I was still trying to keep a relationship with my family. Specifically, my one grandmom was someone who I really wanted to maintain a relationship with. So like I would still visit home occasionally, and that was never fun. That never really went well. And it got to the point where I was pretty upfront that like, hey, I'd really like to repair this relationship, and we have until grandma passes. Like once grandma passes, I'm never coming back to Philly. You will not see me again. And we like there has been no reconciliation there, is what I'll say. Okay. So things are not great there. I went no contact a few years ago now. They just couldn't get over it, which is very unfortunate. A lot of pastors have their kind of like pet peeve issue. They'll work it into every sermon. For some of them, it's giving. For some of them, it's missions trips. For some of them, it's putting the toilet seat down. Whatever their sin is, they got their thing that they like to talk about and work into every sermon. For some, it's naughty language. For my dad, it was like homosexuality. So I think it hit him harder than. And it hit my mom harder than it would have another pastor having their kid come
like
out.
Of all the things,
yeah. And let me state for the record too that if you talked to my church, if you talked to my parents, they would have a very different version of events, and I recognize that their version, I probably look a lot more deviant, and I look a lot more sneaky, and I probably come off a lot worse. Two sides to every story. This is my version of it, though. This is how I remember it.
I
want to give them that grace.
I
want to give them that grace that their version is probably a lot different.
Sure,
but,
I understand.
So, probably I don't remember when I came to terms with like being an atheist, but it was like an Easter Sunday. I was like, I'm going to get real drunk on whiskey, and I'm going to read Mere Christianity till this shit makes sense or doesn't.
Right.
And sat down with C.S. Lewis on Easter Sunday, got drunk off my ass, and I was like, I think I'm an atheist. And that's about where I am today. I still consider.
No, go ahead.
I still consider myself a pastor,
sure.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not like preaching at people or anything, but like culturally, I'm very evangelical. Like the jokes I laugh at, how I tell a story, some of the music I listen to, like it is still like in me. Like my friends we do presentation parties, and the last one I did was weird evangelical shit I grew up with that everyone thinks I'm making up.
Oh,
it's
God.
Very funny.
I'd love to see that.
Very, very funny presentation. But like I love that stuff. But I think some gods deserve atheists, and I think the evangelical God is a God that deserves atheists.
That's a fantastic statement. First of all, before I forget what I was going to say, have you written one Easter Sunday with whiskey, C.S. Lewis, and Mere Christianity as a one-act play or a solo show? Because I think you'd do well off Broadway and then on to Broadway with this wonderful play.
No, I haven't, but I should.
You should. You really should.
Yeah, I really, really should. That's a good idea, Ken. Maybe you can be my manager.
I'll help you outline it. So that's kind of where I was not getting to. I wanted to follow this journey with you here of where you are now and what do you have a moment? Because I'll just say I don't know. I'm not at an atheist moment. I am at the I'd love for there to be something, and I could get behind something, and I can get behind spiritual stuff, and I can get behind things I don't understand. I can get behind what I think has been examples of answered prayer. I still have all those. I have those recent examples in my life. But you talk about the House of Cards. For me, it was the real history. Once things start pulling that out, hey, there's no historical proof of the Exodus. Well, okay, then why are we basing law off this? Why are we basing foreign policy off of this kind of stuff? You had mentioned earlier, things weren't lining up, quote unquote. How does that factor into this decision? Was there an aha moment? Anything about that?
Um, I would have been down with what I would have called like liberal theology
Sure.
growing up of like this like I remember when I was dating Evan
Mm-hmm.
and he was like he had this look of horror when he was like, how old do you think the earth is? And I was like, that answer doesn't matter to me. And he was like, no, but how old do you think the earth is?
Right. Right.
Because Evan is very facts-based. Evan is very practical. Evan loves science. And I was like, babe, like, I'm not a scientist. So like, this does not matter for like my life, my everyday life. The age of the earth does not matter. What matters to me is the story of Adam and Eve, though. That like does matter in my everyday life. I take a lot of lessons from that.
Yeah.
So like, I don't need to know the age of the earth. I don't really care. Like the fact that my church thinks it's 7,000 years old, do I think that's kind of silly? Like, yeah, I think that's pretty silly. But like, is it billions years old? Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So even then, it was like I was very okay with the idea of like I can be a liberal Christian. I can take truths from the Bible without believing they literally, actually, factually happened. And like I can recognize scripture was in a specific genre to a specific people at a specific time, and like that context matters when interpreting it. But the like final straw, I think for me was just like, who do I see living like the church? I see queer people living like the church. I see, the early church, people were selling their homes, pooling their resources and money together to take care of each other, to take care of the crippled, to take care of the widows and orphans, to take care of the members who are disenfranchised more. Do I see the evangelical church doing that? No, I see them locking up immigrants. I see them attacking queer people. I see them voting to remove rights of disabled people. I see that happening constantly. Who do I see doing that shit? Queer people. I see them passing the same $20 around for their transition GoFundMes and for their housing expenses and for their medical bills and taking care of each other. And just sort of that realization of like, none of these fucks believe this shit. Because if they believed it, they'd be acting way differently. That was like a really big part of it. There was a fight. I try to typically not name drop what family member did what. But there was a fight I had with my dad where, and it matters that it was my dad because it matters that it was the pastor. Where I asked him like, how sure are you, with tears in my eyes, leaving the hospital that my grandma was in, begging him, saying, how sure are you that you're right and I'm wrong? Like, and he was like, I'm 100% right. And I was like, you don't have 1% doubt that you might not have these two verses interpreted correctly. You don't have 1% doubt that maybe I'm right and maybe you're wrong and maybe you should re-examine our relationship and this falling out we're having. And he was like, I don't have 1% of doubt. And I was like, I am begging you to give me 1%. Give me 1%. Give me a glimmer of hope that you might change your mind someday. And he said, I can't do that. I am positive I'm right and you're wrong. And I was just like, that is a level of pride that I cannot. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that my dad is prideful. That is a measure of, Dad, if you are watching this, which there's a chance you are, that is a measure of confidence that I cannot relate to, and that I think a lot of the church has, where to their credit, a lot of my family says, you know the scripture better than us. We can't argue Bible with you, which is a strange admission on their part, I think, but also a bit of humility. But if I know Bible better than them, maybe they should be listening to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something that was a big nail in the coffin. Whiskey with C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity was a big one. And then what was the final one? There was another big fight I had. Oh, getting married.
Mm-hmm.
Just my family's reaction to that. I mean, the reaction to the engagement was not appreciated, but the reaction to getting married was even worse. So getting removed from wills and stuff doesn't help. So there was a lot of pretty nasty back and forths that it's just like, man, the evangelical church, I think, is a trauma factory. I think that is really the only thing it's good at. And I think if you attend an evangelical church, you're complicit in that. Mm-hmm. Even if you just attend, put your money in the plate and leave, you are complicit in the trauma factory. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a lot of good things to say about the evangelical church.
I don't either these days. Yeah. And I hold on to what I keep saying is the 18% that didn't vote for him this last time around. But as I say, if you're not picking up arms, figurative arms, for now, to join us in the fight, then you are against us at this point. And I don't mean to speak in Sith absolutes, but you know what I mean, where that's actually more of my frustration right now, more of my pain, is the 82% with 100% certainty. I don't know if I can change that, but you're there. You're still there. 18%. What are you doing about it? What are you doing about it?
It wouldn't be an Andi guest spot on a podcast if I didn't sneak in an X-Men reference.
Please.
I'll say that I really started out with a I'm a nice gay and I relate to the X-Men because I'm an outcast.
Sure.
And I have moved a lot further to I'm not gay as in relates to the plight of the X-Men. I'm a faggot as in Cyclops and Magneto were right.
Yeah.
And I really do think that the only recourse for the evangelical church is to tear it down and build something new from the ashes.
Yes.
I do not hate all religion. I do not hate all Christianity. I do not hate all Christians. I'm not saying that. When I say the church, I mean capital T, capital C, the church.
Same, yeah.
I'm not talking about the churches I attended or volunteered at or pastored at. I'm talking big idea, the evangelical church. I think it's completely lost its soul. It sold its soul to mega churches and the Republican Party.
Yes,
and it's a country club now
by design,
and it is a place of cruelty and abuse.
Yes,
not every single church, obviously, but the capital T, capital C, the church.
That's where I even sometimes use that reference of capital T, capital C. It's not necessarily the ones I grew up. It's not necessarily even the pastors I grew up with, or even my friends and family who might still be there. But it's the entire system. It is the complete intentional connecting post Goldwater republicanism with the church and working that bag until you're ready to take complete over. Just boom, boom, punching it until that church is ready to completely submit to your political will, which is what's going on right now. I'm right there with you. That's what I'm saying. I'm not asking God to go. I'm asking for this structure to go.
Yeah, and it is I do still have a relationship with Christ, which is weird. I don't believe in him.
That's interesting.
But did you read Dayspring?
I don't recall that one. No.
Okay, Dayspring was a novel that came out by Anthony Oliveira. He is a comic book writer. He writes for Marvel, and it was his first prose novel. And I love this guy. He's got some Catholic trauma, which is a slightly different flavor than the trauma I have. A very specific brand of religious trauma. But he wrote a book about. It is written in the style of a gospel. Jesus' words are printed in red ink, and it is about Jesus and John, the beloved, having sex. It is a gospel about Jesus and John the Beloved being gay lovers, and there was an old Catholic tradition that believed John the Beloved wouldn't die until Jesus came back.
Yeah,
and so the book is about their relationship and this guy who is cursed to be immortal till his boyfriend, who happens to be the Son of God, returns, and it is beautiful and tragic and funny and
Right.
I wept while I read that book. It came out towards the end of last year. It's amazing. Just like crying reading that book. And I don't think it would have hit me in the same way, obviously, if I didn't still have this sort of esoteric, it's not even like spiritual anymore, but this concept of Jesus that like still affects me. I mean, like I said, like some of the music I still listen to, like I posted that playlist on Blue Sky, like my religious trauma playlist. But like, it's like I wouldn't be who I am today without Jesus. I kind of hate him. Like I do wish I could sit down and have a whiskey with Jesus and be like, hey, like, what the fuck, man?
That's your follow-up play, Andy. That's your follow-up.
Yeah. My second play is like, hey, why are your people so mean? What? I really don't like it. Why are they so mean to me?
I want to dig into one thing, because you're talking about, you're sharing some pretty raw things with your interaction with your father and just the general thing, and this is a common refrain for even my life or others in my life who are close to me, where it just becomes this unbreakable wall, the 100% certainty and clarity that is. What is it? Is Abraham put Isaac on it? Who puts who on? Who kills their kid? Isaac or Abraham? I can't. Or is prepared.
Abraham puts his kid on the altar to sacrifice him, and then doesn't.
Right, like it's that kind of thing, right? Like it's that kind of thing where it is this, you cannot put it, and I understand it from this big kind of sense, but when it's ripping, when someone's in front of you who's still saying, I'm still here trying to return or give you love that you would return, and you can't and won't because of this fear. I can only assume it's fear of when any of this stuff is challenged. Small example, just my own life was like, I still listen to some online pastors. I keep mentioning them here on the channels, and I'm sorry for repeating myself, folks, but the feedback I've received is, well, they're not preaching from the scripture. They're not preaching from love. And it's this such a wall that you're like, wow, you don't even, because number one, you're wrong. Two, like, you don't even want to meet me halfway here on this. And it's destructive, Andy. It's destructive. And I don't know where that, I can only say it comes from some sort of fear that you've lived your whole life on this house of cards, as you describe it. And you know that one poof is going to blow the card away. And so you're trying to push all the winds of change away from you. I don't know.
The belief of hell allows them to justify any cruelty on earth, because any cruelty on earth that might save someone from eternal torment in hell means what they're doing is actually being loving. I don't get it. I don't understand the church. I don't understand my family. I really, really wish things were different.
Yeah.
I love my husband so much. I love the family that we've built together. I love the life we've built together. We have a beautiful home. We got some pets. We have decent jobs. We have amazing friends around us. His family is incredible, and I love them to death. They've welcomed me with open arms. We really have like a good thing going, and I think I'm a pretty decent hang. I think I'm a pretty fun person to spend time with. I think I'm a pretty good friend. I think I'm a pretty good spouse. I think I'm a pretty good person to be part of your family, and it fucking breaks my heart.
Yeah,
that they don't get to see that, and that they don't get to see how amazing Evan is. Like, Evan makes me so much better. He brings out my best qualities. He helps me with my shortcomings. Like, I am a significantly better person than the like broken shell of a person that grew up in their home.
Yeah.
And the fact that they've never met me. They met the broken, scared version of me that was on eggshells my whole life. Like it truly does, when I let myself think about it, break my heart.
Yeah.
But like, I can't make them see that and like coming to terms with that and coming to terms with the idea of like, we talk about on black sales a lot, or on Genders, Queers, and Buccaneers. There's talk in black sales about like, you have to be okay with like becoming a story. You have to be okay with the idea that people are going to create a version of you, and that's going to be their reality, and that's what they're going to talk about. And like coming to terms with that was very difficult. Of the idea of like, my former churches have a version of me that they whisper about. I hear when y'all whisper about me. Like, there are people there who still talk to me. Please stop talking about me. But I know there's a version of me that they tell. There's this gay boogeyman that they've created. And like, I don't get to set the record straight there. Like, I don't. Like, and I have to be okay with that. I have to be okay with the fact that my family has a version of me, and it's not my reality. And it's a shame that I think the version I know is pretty great. I think the version my friends know, my husband know, is pretty great. But you can't stop people from talking, and they've got their truth. And if that's what brings them comfort, I think it's sad. I think it's a shame that they don't get to see me and meet me and know me. But I can't fix it. I can't change it.
I don't know if you're trying to pastor right now, but it's some A+ pastoring. This is very powerful. I think there's the truth in this, of the ability to walk away. It's I'm never suggesting it's easy. What you're saying is heart wrenching. It's heart wrenching what you're still going through, but the ability to let that story be told, that it's not the truth and there's nothing you can change it. So easy to say. I really think that's a key to a lot of things. And I feel for you, but also I'm so happy for you.
I'm doing okay.
I feel for them more, because they don't get to see this beautiful being in front of me that I get this experience. But I'm happy that you outside of what's going on in the world right now, that you have yourself, you have those around you.
My story does have a happy ending. Like, there is a lot of pain in it, and I don't want to cheapen that. I don't want to sugarcoat it, but also I don't want to dwell on it. It's got a really happy ending. Like, our wedding was beautiful. Like I said, our home and the family we've built with our friends and Evan's family are all amazing. I wouldn't trade any of it. Like, even with the shit going on right now with like these executive orders and how like trans people are being treated in this country, like I like to say gender is a game and I play to win. And like, I have a lot of joy like fooling around with gender and with expression and with different presentations. And I think cis people should like try that. Like, if you're a cis guy and you've never worn eyeliner or like some nail polish, like, give it a shot. You might love it. Yeah. It's fun. If you're a cis woman and you've never worn like a suit with like a flirty little tie, like, give it a shot. You'll rock it. You might really love it. Like have fun. Like, I don't know. You got one life. Why wouldn't you try something crazy?
I love it.
Do something fun.
Someone who
have a whiskey, read some C.S. Lewis, and yell at God. Like, maybe you'll get a new name at the end of it. Yeah. Israel became Jacob became Israel.
Saul Paul. Yeah,
right. Get a new name. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, no, as someone who I painted my nails like 25 years ago because I want to be in a band. And then recently, for Halloween, I told Grace, "Go ahead and paint the nails." It was one of the best days of her life, and it's I don't know, man. It's fun, and I'm not to dumb it all down to my nails, but like some of the stuff you were saying earlier, and I'm gonna get you back to your life here, and not keep you too much on the show, but you said some really wonderful things. You also said some really powerful, important things, and things that I don't fully understand, and I see a lot of, and I've experienced in my own life of just, the amount of people leaving, quote, the church, the capital T, capital C, and there's a lot of wondering why, and there's a lot of how could they not see how great Trump is, all that kind of stuff. But even outside of the politics, let's not more about the politics. Let's worry about just what I've seen in my own life since coming up in the 70s and the tail end of the Jesus movement, dedicated by Pastor Chuck Smith at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, one of the most famous churches in that realm, to see that to now where it's like what you said earlier of you, the queer community absolutely be an example of the love of God or the love of Jesus, absolutely being more of an example. And the fact that they can't see that and feel that there's such a wall. I was at a drag show in West Hollywood a year ago now for a birthday. God, time flies too much, too fast. And I remember just being there and did have a conversation with my mother about like, you'd love it here. You'd love it here. The amount of joy and love and celebration inside this center, where outside of that, it's not easy for them or any of us, quite frankly, to find it. But in here, this group, it's a love I haven't experienced. It's a joy I haven't experienced, and it's such a loss. And I don't know, like you said, Andy, I at some point you just go, yeah, I guess you don't get to experience any of this because they're not there. I don't know.
Yeah, coming to terms with the realization of like, I'm not the one to fix this.
Yeah.
Because I really thought I was. I thought I was the protagonist. I thought I was going to be Martin Luther. I thought I'm going to do ministry for 3 years and I'm going to then quietly leave, find a different church, and I'm gonna be this radical change. I was always told, like, you're the future of the church. Like, you're going to be a great Christian leader. And that I wasn't the protagonist. Like, that wasn't my story. And realizing that I'm not the hero here, all I can do is, like, take care of myself. And that involves leaving. And that involves not contradicting what is being said about me. And just, like, having my own peace about that. Like, it is difficult. I mean, like, I still have nightmares. I still pretty regularly have nightmares where I'm back in church or I'm like surrounded by my family or some shit. And like, it is not something that was easy to do. But I am ultimately significantly happier and significantly more fulfilled, and significantly more myself. Like, and I like myself. I really like who I am. It took me a long time to get there, but this non-binary gay ex-pastor has built something for themselves, and it's not huge, it's not glamorous, but I'm happy with it.
I think those are beautiful words. I almost want to end there, but I had one final thing.
Hit me with it.
I'm laughing on the inside because when I grew up, and when I say grow up, I mean I'm still growing up, but late in life, the idea of any atheist, an atheist, was this godless abomination that has never seen the sun. Not just the Son of God, but has never seen the sun. That they're just like, what are these monsters? That's what I was, I won't even say I was taught that. It's just the perception I had. And you, among others, I have some very close friends in my life, atheists, know the Bible backward and forward. I could never have imagined that as a kid. That's not something I understood. And that has made it more important. So I want to know more of these stories, to know that you're like, yeah, you want a quote? I'll give you a scripture quote. Also, of an atheist. Blows little Kenny's mind, and I love you share that story. Share it. Have you shared your story?
20:30. Trials and tribulations cleanse away evil, and beatings purge the inmost being. I've been through my trials and tribulations, and I've been through my beatings. My evil is cleansed away. It just so happens that the evil was the evangelical church.
Yeah.
And I'm through it.
I'm glad you are.
Yeah.
Glad you are, Andy. Thank you for coming on the show and just explaining and sharing and letting us follow your journey. It's I know it's going to reach the ears it needs to reach, but I really appreciate it. and absolutely just love who you are. All right, and we're not super close yet because Alden Diaz keeps getting in the way. Alden won't let me get any closer to you than he wants. No, I absolutely love who you are. I love this journey. I do want them to be able to have links down below, but you have a great show, Genders, Queers, and Buccaneers. I was listening to a lot of it today in prepping for this interview.
Thank
You and Ronnie do some great work. Tell me about what you're doing and where they can find you and all those good things, and sign off for us.
Yeah, all of my socials are at a one hat town. You can follow me there. Genders, Queers, and Buccaneers is my podcast. We talk about the show Black Sails through a lens looking at the genders and queers and the political nature of that show. We have some exciting stuff coming up there where we're going to be talking about some stuff other than just Black Sails. So nice. Stay tuned, but we're primarily still a Black Sails podcast. If you're going to be at KatsuCon in National Harbor, that's my favorite convention. I'm there every year. That's coming up in a couple weeks. Give me a shout out, say hi. I'd love to grab a drink with you. Yeah, same disclaimer that I gave before. If you are watching this and you happen to know what church I went to, or you happen to know my family, they will have a different version than mine. I'm sure theirs paints them in a different light and paints me in a more negative light. So don't take my word as, I guess, gospel truth on that. I want to give them that grace that I don't think that they probably afford me. But their version is probably a little different, and I'm okay with that. I don't hate the church. I don't hate my family. I am disappointed, though.
Hey, I really get it, and I appreciate what you're saying. Appreciate you sharing all of it. And to all of you out there listening, leave a nice comment. Follow Andi. Go listen to that podcast. Join us over on Casterly Talk as we hopefully fire back those engine up really soon. And thanks for supporting here on the channel. Links down below where you can support the channel, my Patreon page, all those kind of wonderful things to help us grow and to help us continue telling our own little silly stories, but also listening to the stories of other folks. That's it. We'll see you next time here on The Blathering.
Thanks for having me.